There's a rule that almost every self-made millionaire follows, and it makes them look like they're struggling. Most people will never figure it out. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what it is. Garrett pulled into his driveway the same way he always did. Slow, no rush, windows down. His 2003 Ford Ranger had a dent on the passenger side that'd been there longer than most of his neighbors had lived on the street. Across the road, Marcus killed the engine of a brand new BMW X5, jet black, still had the dealer plates on it. He stepped out, adjusted his sunglasses, and gave a little nod to Mrs. Patterson next door, the kind of nod that says, "Yeah, I know you're looking." And she was. Everyone was. That was the thing about Maple Drive. People noticed what you had, and based on what they saw, the whole street had already made up its mind. Marcus was doing well, and Garrett was just getting by. But here's the thing about what people see. It's almost never the full picture. Garrett was 51, worked as a building inspector for the county, wore the same rotation of flannels and boots every week. He'd bought his house back when the market tanked, foreclosure sale, dirt cheap, and because he could fix just about anything with his own hands, he'd paid off the mortgage 9 years ago without ever hiring a contractor. He ate at home most nights, drove to work and back, walked his dog, a mutt named Oscar, around the block after dinner. On weekends, he'd fix things, a leaking faucet, a wobbly shelf, stuff most people would just throw money at. Marcus was 38, worked in tech sales, good salary, always had the latest everything, phone, watch, sneakers. He'd moved on to Maple Drive about 2 years ago, and ever since, his lifestyle had been loud. New furniture every few months, subscriptions to things he forgot he signed up for, trips to Vegas with the boys. He'd lease the car, finance the watch, and put the rest on credit, figuring he'd sort it all out when the next commission check hit. And honestly, everyone on the block thought Marcus had it figured out. People talked about him at barbecues like he was living proof that hustle pays off. Nobody talked about Garrett. He was just there. It started small. Marcus stopped parking the BMW in the driveway and started leaving it in the garage. Not because he'd suddenly learned humility. Because his phone kept buzzing with calls from numbers marked unknown, the bank's collections department, and he knew that if they spotted the car sitting out front, a tow truck could roll up in the middle of the night and take it before he even woke up. So he hid it, kept the garage door shut, walked past the driveway like nothing was wrong. Then the mail started stacking up, not regular mail, the kind with red stamps. Final notice, past due. He'd grab the stack, shove it in a drawer, and tell himself he'd deal with it tomorrow. But tomorrow kept turning into next week. One night, Marcus was sitting in his kitchen, lights off, just the glow of his laptop, trying to figure out which card still had room on it. He needed groceries, actual groceries, not takeout, not DoorDash, eggs, bread, aged ground beef. He checked his account, $87.42. Let that sit for a second. A guy making payments on a $60,000 car had $87 to his name. Meanwhile, across the street, Garrett was on the phone with his accountant. Not because anything was wrong, just the quarterly check-in. They talked about Garrett's properties, not some fancy apartment complex, just 2 duplexes in a neighboring town that he'd bought run down and gutted himself over countless weekends, hauling lumber in that beat-up Ranger, learning plumbing from YouTube videos, laying tile until his knees ached. Both units stayed full year-round. He also had a brokerage account he'd been quietly feeding for over 2 decades. Nothing glamorous, index funds, a handful of dividend stocks, and some bonds now that he was getting older. His accountant asked him if he'd thought about upgrading his truck. Garrett laughed. "It runs fine, Dave. Why would I?" Dave snorted, closed the ledger, and knew Garrett was the only guy in town who didn't give a damn about looking the part. There was a woman on the street named Colleen. 67, lived alone, retired teacher. Her roof had been leaking for months, and she'd been putting pots under the drip spots because she couldn't afford the repair. She mentioned it once at a neighborhood gathering. Just casually, the way older folks do, not asking for help, just making conversation. 2 days later, a roofing crew pulled up in front of her house. Colleen stepped outside, confused. The foreman, a contractor who regularly did inspections with the county office, I told her that his company was running a community assistance program for seniors in the area and that her roof had been selected for a free repair. He had the paperwork ready. She signed it on her porch, still a little stunned. She never found out who was really behind it. Nobody did. But Garrett's accountant had a line item that month, a $4,200 transfer to the foreman's company. Garrett didn't think twice about it, didn't post it anywhere, didn't tell a soul. He didn't want a plaque or a tearful thank you. The check cleared, the roof got patched, and Garrett went back to his oatmeal. It happened on a Thursday night. Marcus was sitting on his front steps, looking like he hadn't slept in days because he hadn't. Garrett was walking Oscar and stopped. "You all right?" Marcus looked up. He almost said, "Yeah, fine," the autopilot answer, but something cracked. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe he was just tired of keeping up the act. "No, man, I'm not all right. I'm drowning." Garrett didn't say anything dramatic, didn't lecture him. He just tied Oscar's leash to the porch railing, sat down on the step next to Marcus and said, "Tell me." So Marcus did. All of it. The debt, the leases, the credit cards maxed out. The commission checks that barely covered minimums. The panic attacks at 2 a.m. The feeling that he'd built an entire life out of smoke. Garrett listened. Then after a long pause, he reached down and scratched Oscar behind the ears. And without looking up, he said something Marcus never forgot. "You know what's funny? I've got more money than I'll probably ever spend, and nobody on this street knows it. You've got almost nothing, and everyone thinks you're rich." Marcus didn't laugh. "You're killing yourself to impress people who wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire. I sleep at night because I owe nothing to nobody. Free to not panic when a bill comes. Free to help someone without worrying if you can cover rent. Free to walk away from a job if it's killing you." He tightened the leash gently as Oscar tried to wander off. "I wear old boots, drive an old truck, and eat leftovers twice a week. Not because I have to, because none of that stuff matters to me. What matters is that I sleep like a baby. Every single night." What Garrett understood, and what Marcus was just starting to see, is what some people call the invisible wealth rule. It's not really a rule you'll find in a textbook. It's more like a pattern, something you notice when you study people who've quietly built real, lasting wealth. Here's how it works. Most people earn money and immediately convert it into stuff. Visible, flashy, impressive stuff. Cars, clothes, gadgets, experiences that look good on Instagram. And for a while it feels amazing. You feel like you've arrived, but that money is gone. It's not working for you anymore. It's sitting in your driveway, losing value every single day. People like Garrett do the opposite. They earn money and convert it into things you can't see. Equity, investments, assets that grow while they sleep. Their wealth is invisible. You can't spot it from the outside. And that's exactly why it works. Because when your wealth is invisible, nobody pressures you to spend more of it. Nobody expects you to upgrade. Nobody raises the bar on you. You get to keep building in peace. It sounds almost too simple, right? But the hardest part isn't understanding it. The hardest part is going against everything society keeps shouting at you, that you need to show your success, prove your worth, keep up with the people around you. Garrett didn't fight that battle with willpower. He just decided, a long time ago, that he didn't care what the street thought. And that one decision changed everything. Marcus didn't change overnight. That's not how it works. Real change is brutal and slow, and some days you want to quit before you even start. He called the bank, told them he wanted to do a voluntary surrender of the BMW. The woman on the phone was polite, almost rehearsed, like she'd had this exact conversation 100 times. She explained what would happen. The car would be picked up, sold at auction, and whatever the sale didn't cover, Marcus would still owe. His credit score would take a hit so hard it might take years to recover. He agreed anyway, watched from his kitchen window the morning the flatbed came. A guy in a yellow vest hooked chains to the front axle and dragged the X5 up the ramp. The whole thing took about 4 minutes. 2 years of payments, gone in 4 minutes. When his next commission check hit, the kind of money he used to blow in a single weekend in Vegas, he drove 40 minutes to a used car lot outside of town and bought a 2011 Honda Civic with rust spots above the wheel wells. Paid cash, it wiped out almost everything he had. He sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes before driving it home, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard. It smelled like old air freshener and someone else's cigarettes. But it was his, really his. No bank, no lease, no monthly bleeding. He cut 3 subscriptions, started cooking, badly at first, but he got better. Made a spreadsheet, started tracking every dollar like his life depended on it. Because honestly, it kinda did. 6 months in, he had his first month with money left over. Not a lot, a few $100, but it was the first time in years he didn't owe more than he had. He walked over to Garrett's house and said, "I slept through the whole night last night." Garrett smiled. "Feels different, doesn't it?" "Feels like breathing." A year later, and Maple Drive looked pretty much the same. Same lawns, same mailboxes, same sprinklers going off at 6 a.m. Garrett still drove the Ranger, still wore flannels, still walked Oscar every evening. Marcus still lived across the street, but the garage door stayed open now. The Civic sat there in plain sight, a little beat up, a little ugly, and Marcus didn't care anymore. He'd stopped keeping score. Some nights, if the weather was nice, you'd see them both out front. Garrett on his steps with Oscar, Marcus on his, sometimes talking, sometimes just sitting in the quiet. Nobody on the street knew what had changed. From the outside, nothing looked different, but that was kind of the whole point. He just stopped pretending. That's all it takes to start. If the story of Marcus and Garrett today hits somewhere close to home, I'd really love to hear from you. Drop a thought in the comments. What's one expense you've been carrying just because it looks right? Sometimes just saying it out loud is the first step. And if someone you care about needs to hear this right now, just send it their way. That might be the kindest thing you do this week. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.